Imagine this. You're in Hiroshima when the atomic bomb drops. You survive. Days later, you're in Nagasaki, and it happens again. There's bad luck. There's really bad luck. And then there's, congratulations, you've survived the apocalypse. Oh wait, here comes another one. And the strangest part? Yamaguchi wasn't a soldier, a spy, or some action movie hero. He was just a draftsman on a business trip. The kind of guy whose biggest work hazard was probably paper cuts, until the sky exploded. This is the story of Tsutomu Yamaguchi. Tsutomu Yamaguchi was born in Nagasaki in 1916, a port city famous for its shipyards, seafood markets, and hills so steep they make your calves file a complaint. The kind of place where you could get fresh fish in the morning, build a battleship in the afternoon, and still get a workout just walking home uphill. By his late 20s, the world was on fire, and Japan's cities were fully mobilized for the empire's war effort. He had a respectable job as a draftsman for Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, designing oil tankers for Japan's Navy. Skilled work, good pay, but also endless deadlines and constant pressure. Basically, 1940s corporate burnout, but with a war on top. In the summer of 1945, Mitsubishi sent him on a 3-month business trip to Hiroshima, one of the few major cities that hadn't yet been heavily bombed. Locals joked it was being saved for something. They just didn't know what. August 6, 1945 was supposed to be just another workday for Yamaguchi. He was one day away from going home to his wife and baby in Nagasaki. Tickets booked, bags packed. Just one quick meeting at the shipyard, and then goodbye Hiroshima. Worst case scenario, maybe a sunburn. He overslept slightly but still made it in. As he walked toward the docks just after 8 a.m., the calm mornings shattered. A blinding flash lit up the sky, so bright it felt like daylight had been replaced by the heart of the sun. Later, he described it as the sun falling. In that instant, the Enola Gay dropped the first wartime atomic bomb, Little Boy, from 31,000 feet. He didn't hear the explosion right away, because the shock wave needed a few seconds to arrive. When it did, it was like the air itself turned to concrete. Yamaguchi was launched into a potato patch like a very unlucky frisbee, his left side burned, eardrums ruptured, and eyesight temporarily gone. Inside a kilometer from ground zero, it was 4,000 degrees Celsius, hot enough to melt steel and, tragically, vaporize human beings. At 3 kilometers away, Yamaguchi avoided instant death, but got the full VIP experience of atomic destruction. He staggered up to find Hiroshima flattened. Firestorms roared in every direction. The sky wore a dark mushroom cloud like some apocalyptic hat. Half blind, half deaf, and fully shocked, his first thought wasn't revenge. It wasn't even, what just happened? It was, how do I get home? Here's where it gets surreal. Days later, he's back in Nagasaki, telling his boss about what he saw. One single bomb destroyed the entire city, he said. His boss looked at him like he'd just claimed he saw Godzilla do the cha-cha. You're crazy, he replied. This statement would turn out to be an uncomfortably accurate spoiler alert. To be fair, if someone told you one bomb could erase a whole city, in 1945 it would sound like a tall tale. Somewhere between a fisherman's story and pure science fiction. Unfortunately for Nagasaki, it was neither. The morning of August 9th started normally, or as normal as life can be after surviving an atomic bomb 3 days ago. Still bandaged, Yamaguchi insisted on reporting to work. It's the kind of work ethic that would impress any boss, assuming the building was still standing by the end of the day. At 11 a.m., he was mid-sentence in his boss's office when the world outside their window flashed white. This time, it was Boxcar with the plutonium bomb Fat Man. Unlike Little Boy, which hit Hiroshima's city center, Fat Man detonated over the Urakami Valley, sparing part of Nagasaki, but erasing everything within its blast radius. From Yamaguchi's point of view, the distinction between part of the city and the rest of the city probably didn't make much difference. Both came with a blinding flash and a wall of destruction. Yamaguchi said it felt like the gates of hell had opened. The blast shattered windows, sent splinters flying like knives, and, just for fun, burned his bandages. He was still alive again. At this point, even death must have been thinking, all right, fine, I'll get the next guy. Radiation sickness hit quickly, vomiting, fever, hair loss. Yet his wife and infant son also survived because, when she saw the flash, she grabbed the baby and bolted to an air raid shelter. That decision saved them both. So now Yamaguchi had done the impossible, survived 2 atomic bombings within a week. Statisticians still don't have a formula for that. In fact, years later, a mathematician was asked about Yamaguchi's odds. He said it was like being struck by lightning while winning the lottery during a shark attack. Not exactly the kind of jackpot anyone wants. In the decades that followed, he rebuilt his life, went back to Mitsubishi, raised 3 children, and eventually became a calm, steady voice for peace. He gave interviews, wrote poetry that forced readers to feel the blast, the choking smoke, and the silence after. And he didn't shout his message. He didn't wave banners. He spoke like someone sharing a cautionary tale by the fireplace, except the story started with a blinding flash and ended with a mushroom cloud. In the 2006 documentary Twice Survived, Frail but Unwavering, he said, "The reason I hate the atomic bomb is because of what it does to the dignity of human beings." Students, conferences, survivor gatherings, he told them all the same thing. Surviving wasn't strength, it was absurd luck, and people respected him all the more for it. It was this humility that made his message land. He wasn't trying to be a symbol, but people made him one anyway. Not of tragedy, but of the stubborn will to keep living, even after the unthinkable. In 2010, the BBC called him the unluckiest man in the world. But anyone who knew him would tell you he wasn't unlucky at all. He was living proof that survival, even after humanity's worst, is extraordinary. And maybe that's why his story still matters today. Because it's not just about what happened to him, but about how he refused to let it define him. He lived to be 93, passing in January 2010. By then, he'd outlived most who knew him in 1945. In the end, his life wasn't defined by 2 flashes of light, but by the decades he spent turning those flashes into a call for peace. If stories like this make you rethink what you thought you knew about history, stick around. On Think Twist, we dig up moments too strange to be fiction, but too true to ignore. So hit subscribe and join us. Because history doesn't just repeat, it also surprises.